Is Nerland in the tournament? There's a lot of this going on. Let's see. Nerland versus Hive Minion. Let's see if we can get Hive Minion or Nerland to open up a spot for me. We just gotta get in a game here. Ooh, someone pulling Zeetorq. What's he playing? Eldar? He's an Eldar guy, right? Ba-boom, boom, ba-boom. Bum, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Oh, there we go. That's who's streaming. We got Crazy Man. We got Cortez. Not quite Cortez, but he's got an extra A in there. Hi, Widdix. Welcome, welcome. Slaneshi also, possibly. I need invites, you jerks. I'd like to watch some Nerland if possible. Mathis will let us in. Alright, we're gonna go join Mathis's game. Bam! Moving to observe. So let's take a look here. First, Imperial Plaza. Oh man, I wasn't sure if this was actually the match we're playing, but yeah, Imperial Plaza. That's not... Is that the new map that they just got going? I know there's a one or two that people have been working on. Woo! MRT. So let's go ahead, update this scorecard, and we'll get this going. Doo-doo-doo. Alright, first match, round of 32. Get hyped for the monthly Rumble tournament. Number 14, it's been a while since our last monthly Rumble tournament, at least 2 or 3 months. I think the organizers needed a break. I know Erie was running them for a while. Now it seems like Atlas is on the ball, so big props to him. It is not easy running a tournament, you know. There's a lot of organization and craziness that needs to happen on the back end to keep things going. But as it stands, oh man, and Cretella says he's ready if it hasn't started yet. Just started the first match. Cretella will get you in on the next one. I thought I was going to have a whole round where I'd have to cast on my own, but it looks like it's just going to be the first singular game. And it'll probably be the second game until we get all the audio kinks worked out, but we'll see. Flying by the seat of our pants here. Let's take a look on the blue side, Mr. Zeetorq as the Chaos Sorcerer. And on the red side, Mr. Big Mathis as the Commando Knob. I've got one, thanks. And we're going to have to turn off these Steam overlays in just a second. Let's go back to the game. Just started. Next game, I'll call you. Boom. Commando heading into the center. We've got double Sluggas starting off here. That's an interesting choice. Double Heretics coming out for Zeetorq the Sorcerer. This is a map I'm not super familiar with. Let's take a quick look around. We've got the base back here. We've got Victory Point and Power on opposing sides down here. And then up top, the contested VP. It looks like a very open map. And wow, way up on the end there is the last final VP. Kind of tucked against the wall there, so not even really any opportunity to flank on that side. So it looks like a pretty spread out map. A lot of these kind of custom maps seem a little larger than the standard maps. We'll have to see how this one plays. Some Doom Bolts already forcing some Slugga boys off the south end of the map here. Meanwhile, Commando Knob's looking for some trouble. All sneaky. Gonna find himself some heretics to stun and shoot up with that custom shooter. Let's slow down this scroll speed so I don't make you guys dizzy jumping all over the place. That's a little better. That's manageable. Triple Sluggas for Big Mathis. Oh, I want to see if this works. Triple Sluggas feels like it's going to be particularly difficult to pull off against the Sorcerer. Early game, Heretics will more or less beat Sluggas if they get off a good Doom Blast. Not to mention the Sorcerer's Doom Bolts on top of that. And even unupgraded Sluggas have a hard time dealing one-on-one with Chaos Space Marines. So, Triple Sluggas, while exciting and while I want to see it happen, not really what I feel is an ideal build here. So it's going to be interesting to see nothing else. Commando Knob is kind of saving up some energy for the next stun bomb here. Sluggas realize he has to fall out. And if you're going to go triple Sluggas, I guess this is what you're kind of going to have to do at the opening, is you're going to have to try to dodge around a little bit, try to play a bit evasively until you can get your forces together for kind of a nice big orc wog, and then catch your opponent off guard. Those Sluggas can deal some pretty solid damage one way or another if they manage to actually get in. But as it stands, the Sorcerer can just drop Doom Bolts. As we've seen, he's already forced off 2 squads of Sluggas just by dropping those Doom Bolts on them. Flame is on these Sluggas over here, and those burners actually do pretty solid damage against this high model count Heretics over here. You can see just on retreat there, probably took out, I guess, was that 4 or 5 models that quickly? Aspiring champions on both of the Heretic squads, which you're going to need to have. If he's been counting correctly, he knows there's triple Sluggas on the field, although maybe he's only seen 2 at a time. There's also Luda out here now as well. This is interesting play. Big Mathis is a solid orc player, so I really want to see some solid execution with triple Sluggas and a Luda. Should be lots of fun. As it stands, though, that aspiring champion on the Heretic will make these ticks be able to deal with even the Burna upgraded Sluggas pretty well, I think. Nice dodge on the Doom Bolts there. But as it stands, Mathis doesn't even have... He has one of his natural power farms, so I guess that's really all you need at this point, and this seems to be where he's trying to lock down on this side. Luda's forcing off the Heretics, using the Sluggas to bait them into that Luda fire. And really, the key with Ludas is you want to just kind of keep slightly changing their position and then stealthing after every engagement. Even if you want to cover the same area of map, you just want to slightly move where they're going to be. Got another potential push coming in here. Let's see if he can make... Oh, man, he's going full melee right now. Commando Knob with the Assassin's Knife. You got to get that SH in there. You don't want to say Assassin because that's incorrect. Got the Trippa shot off, and now going to be able to stab himself, a Chaos Space Marine most likely, if he can get that last swing in. Down he goes. That Assassin's Knife, I know from playing Space Marine, that thing bleeds Space Marine models like nobody's business. Commando Knob going to be finding himself in a bit of trouble here, though. He can't deal with quite that much melee. Doom Blast going off all over the place. Heretics just turning into piles of mess left and right. Luda gets set up just in the nick of time, but doesn't quite manage to stop the squad. Another Doom Blast going off, at least causing, I think, at least 3 or 4 Heretics just randomly exploded right there. So far, Mathis, despite having all Sluggas, is managing to keep his bleed under control relatively well. Noise Marines coming onto the field, and this is looking like a dead gen farm. That's not going to be conducive to what he was going for at all. Are we going to see double Noise Marines, or is that a Overwatch error? Yeah, that was Overwatch, so not seeing the second squad come out, but it looks like one squad's going to be all we need. Might be able to save that last generator on the far side, but ticks are already moving to engage. They're probably going to be able to tie up those Ludas, but they have to be careful because Sluggas are on the field. 2 squads of Sluggas and that Commando Knob with the Assassin's Knife. But as we're seeing, going heavy melee against Chaos in general, especially the Sorcerer, is very difficult because they have so many means of control. Those Doom Blasts can, even if they're not directly fighting and engaging, let's see. Even though they're not directly fighting and engaging, just the ability to control all that is pretty handy. We can see the Sorcerer already used that teleport warp there to save his Noise Marines, which were probably going to go down there as they were retreating through a pair of those squads. Oh man, the Havoc unset up just as the Commando Knob got revealed. If it would have stayed set up, it actually would have given him a face full of Havoc fire. Still only a single generator up for the Sorcerer, so no real lead in either side. The Sorcerer has spent quite a bit of power on top of all that, whereas we've got 2 Burnas. He hasn't all 3 burners? We've got 3 burners, the Assassin's Knife, and the loot is purchased for the Commando Knob. Doombolt's going off, landing a model kill on those Slugga boys. Everything's trying to maneuver just right to try to get on these looters. The Sluggas moving in. Heretics trying desperately to get in. They managed to get the looters unset up. And then the Havoc Fire manages to stop the final squad. Let's see. Oh man, actually not the final squad. The Slugga boys managed to get around that Havoc just barely, but now they're in a bit of trouble themselves. Those Heretics and Doombolts from the Sorcerer can dispatch these Slugga boys so very quickly. Mathis has been doing a good job of still managing to get in here. Cacophony going off right here. I know someone on my channel was getting mad at me for how I pronounce cacophony, because the second sounds like an A. I tend to say cacophony, but it's cacophony. How dare I? 471 to 259. Big Mathis looking like he's hurting pretty hard here in Tier 1. He's been managing to hold out on this side of the map reasonably well, but as it stands, the victory points have been staying strongly in control of the Chaos Sorcerer. Looks like he might even be giving up a little bit on pushing so hard on the far side over there. Still a 1-0 cap as it stands. Loot has actually been working pretty well. Surprised to not see the Sorcerer getting... Oh, just as I mentioned it, Vestments of the Warp coming up right now. I was about to say, that's such an easy way to deal with those Ludas, and it's the only real thing that's been giving the Sorcerer any pause on these pushes here. So now that he has that teleport, I think it's really going to kind of seal the deal for the current composition of Big Mathis. Heretics managing to thwart Slugga boys yet again, and that's the problem, is that those lone squads of Heretics can pretty much deal with a lone squad of Sluggas at this stage in the game, so the map control game is pretty much going to be in favor of Zeetorq, considering the current composition. Cacophony again just keeping that Commando Knob under control between that and the Doom Blast, and now of course the Havoc's on top of it. There's just no way that I see these Sluggas being able to get a good engagement off against the Chaos forces.
Your units fulfill your command.
No gens up for the Sorcerer, but he's about to steal the final gen farm of Mathis once again. He's blown these gens up. I guess this is about 2 full gen bashes now he's accomplished. And Big Mathis is just nowhere near. I guess he's heading into Tier 2, so that works out for him.
We summon all the kin of chaos.
But it's looking pretty dire. Popping into Tier 2, will he be able to get out? Zeetorq is nowhere near Tier 2, so if he can get out a Death Dread here, he could certainly get himself back into this game. But that's probably about his last chance for redemption in this first matchup. Slugga boys kept in the top end of the map while all the engagements happening over here. Commando Knob trying to tie up as much as he can. Instead of going for the Death Dread, it looks like he's going to get himself a War Truck and just give himself some constant ability to stay on the field against these Havocs and against all this melee. Whenever he gets Doom Blast, he can just hop in and out of that truck. If he micros his Slugga boys well, Sluggas in a truck are always just a huge pain. And as it stands right now, Zeetorq isn't going to be anywhere close to being able to deal with that truck for at least a couple minutes or so. So this is going to be a really crucial window for Big Mathis to try to get himself back into this game. He's only managed to bleed 30 VPs off of Zeetorq. And Zeetorq, I think, has just been bleeding, at least, even if not off of the orcs themselves, but this is going to be the 3rd gen farm he's taken out. So that's coming on up on 1,000 wreck that those Noise Marines have taken out. Look at this. I love this truck model, man. With the big tusks and the blades on his wheels. That should do melee damage just for rolling next to a squad. Noise Marines almost getting in a little bit of trouble right there. I actually thought there were some Sluggas in that truck, but unfortunately they were not. Gotta get the Sluggas in the truck, man. Ooh, was that a squad kill over here? Yeah, some cloaked Slugga boys just took out a Havoc. That Slugga Knob makes them quite a huge force. Zeetorq heading into Tier 2 now, and it looks like Big Mathis is trying to get his way back into this game. Slugganob's now on the field for, I guess, is that all 3 squads? Just the 2 at the moment, but even so. After a Doom Blast, Zeetorq has to fall back, heading into Tier 2 now. Still gonna be a while until he can deal with this truck. He's got to get into Tier 2, and then he has to get some Tier 2 options on the field for anti-vehicle support. Big Mathis needs to get some gens up so he can start continuing the tech battle here. He's managed to negate all of Zeetorq's gens as well. Zeetorq hasn't spent as much money on generators, I think, so Big Mathis hasn't actually caused as much residual bleed in that regard. But I think overall, the bleed as far as army value has been going to Big Mathis. Big Mathis has been controlling his slug of bleed surprisingly well. Now he's getting a little more reckless now that he has the truck and the knobs. That's something I've noticed with the orcs is, I guess if you have the requisition, it's okay, but once they get that truck, they're more willing to stay in engagements that are potentially not as profitable, I guess. Not as advantageous, because you can keep reinforcing. So if you do stay in those engagements where you lose sluggas and sluggas and sluggas and you're just constantly reinforcing from that truck, if you can't convert that victory into some map control, into some wreck points and that sort of thing, it doesn't ultimately win you anything. It just ends up losing you the wreck and the bleeding here. Let's see, this squad of heretics, the Doom Blast might have just barely saved them unless the knob can get off one more hit. Another Doom Blast goes off, saves it with 13 health. Let's see, nope, the cacophony again, stopping the Slugga advance in its tracks. A lone Slugga knob looks like he's gonna be heading home, as we see so very often, those orc knobs just leaving all the boys behind and heading home by themselves. Round up another crew, get them all riled up for battle, and heading back out onto the field. As it stands, 3 squads of Sluggas now with a truck and knobs, proving to be quite a brutal fighting force against Zeetorq's army. Noise Marines, even with the cacophony, nearly died on retreat. A lone heretic, aspiring champion, also heading out there. Commando Knob looking around, trying to find some trouble, and suddenly a 2-0 cap against Zeetorq. Those victory points, that big gap that we saw earlier, that almost 300-point gap, is going to be closing pretty quickly unless Zeetorq manages to get out on the field. And this may have been Mathis's plan all the time since he was playing. We saw him playing very evasively early on with those Slugga boys until he got that Luda. And then once he started, again, giving up one side and going for the map control to stall out the game till Tier 2, he had that big Tier 2 advantage, got the truck out, and now has successfully won the past couple engagements and bled Zeetorq pretty painfully. You can see he's getting the Havoc squad on the field, and that's so far going to be his only potential anti-vehicle option. And that against trucks full of Sluggas, I think, is going to get taken out and dispatched pretty handily. Noise Marines trying to do what they can. We'll probably see another cacophony here. Oh, we've got, oh man, look at that guy explode and fly all over the place. Kaboom! Let's see, he doesn't have the upgrade. He doesn't have the upgrade. You can actually get the explosive upgrade kit that makes him not fly when he kabooms now.
We summon all the kin of chaos.
Pulling in those Chaos Havocs, they got upgraded with the Mark of Cordon, which is a nice soft anti-vehicle counter, but really, this truck, I think, is still going to have some pretty solid reign of the field. It's charging in against that Corn autocannon. It will be able to get out of the firing arc, but those Slugga boys, oh my gosh, all 3 squads pouring out here. We got a summoning circle coming in. We're going to have some bloodletters trying to finish off that truck. Even the aspiring heretic champions should be able to take that out. But as it stands right now, these Sluggas just ripped through that entire Chaos Force. Unfortunately, didn't manage to get themselves a squad kill. Even with the summoning circle, which is normally just an auto win for an engagement, is not enough to deal with all these Sluggas. Oh my gosh, those Havocs didn't stand a chance, just singularly obliterated. And all of those bloodletters go down as well. 2-0 cap, 250 to 163. And man, if that's what you wanted to see from 3 squads of Sluggas, I think that's all we needed to see right there. My God, that was brutal. You just charged headlong in and unloaded about 20 orcs into a pile of chaos, and Chaos had really no choice but to retreat, even with that summoning circle. It's not often that you see a summoning circle just completely ignored. And that was one of the few instances where it happens. 3 Slugga boys also instantly repaired that war truck. War truck doesn't even have its armor upgrade because who cares, I guess. All you want to do is drive that thing in, unload the Sluggas, and unleash the pain. Luda's unfortunately opened up just a bit too late. Those aspiring champion heretics do have detection, so they managed to spot the Ludas before Big Mathis was able to fire them ahead. Big Mathis ready to go into Tier 3 whenever he has the opportunity to do so. All he has to do is click that button, letting himself slip on the macro there a little bit, but ultimately no big deal. The Sorcerer is down, and Zeetorq is just super pressured at this point. Again, going for the Havocs, which I think maybe... With the truck, the Havocs are just going to get swarmed time and time again. These Slugga boys so nasty with that truck support, and of course the knobs make them pretty quick and hit crazy hard as well. I feel like maybe some Plague Marines would be better. You could use the Heretics to really kind of protect the Plague Marines as they pour some shots into that war truck, but there's just so much melee from all these orcs. Any real ranged firepower is going to be difficult to pull off. This time he went for the hard vehicle counter, I think, and he went for the las cannon instead of the auto cannon. Going for the Mark of Sinch over that Mark of Corn. Corn didn't quite work out. There's no blood in trucks anyway, so they probably weren't that worried about shooting trucks. They wanted to shoot orcs, but unfortunately their blood got spilled, so either way, you know, Corn's happy. 140 to 163, and it's a triple cap against Zeetorq, which seemed like had a dominating position in Tier 1, but suddenly in Tier 2, looking like he's just getting the wrong end of this Orc Wog. Kaboom going off once again, launching Heretics way back there, and actually launching the Commando Knob into the correct direction. That could have actually ended really poorly if it launched the Commando Knob into the Chaos Shrine back there, but as it stands right now, 100 VPs ticking down 3 per second against Zeetorq, and it's probably looking like Mathis took this match unless Zeetorq can get out there pretty quickly, but he can't even stand up against the couple squads that are standing in front of his base. Slugga Boys level 3, level 4 squads of Slugga Boys at this stage. That is impressive. Man, what a great first game. Some excellent back and forth. I really would have, if you would have asked me 10 minutes ago, before Tier 2 came along, I would have pegged Zeetorq as having the match, but it's surprising. You take those, like, people say Sluggas are just not very good. But I mean, we've seen right here, these things are nasty when you can use them just right. Obviously in Tier 1 they're not much, but once they get those upgrades, get that truck support, get that orc play. We saw Hyde the boys there take out some squads. Ah, that was fun. That was fun. Normally you would see probably a Dreadnought or something there to deal with that kind of melee, but Zeetorq was struggling so far and bleeding so hard that he just didn't have the resources for that sort of thing. Anyways, that's our